I want to share a couple of things I overheard that I thought were relevant to this last final phase. Someone remarked that everyone wants to do something. Everybody's got their piece of things, information, whatever. But that what's needed. Actually, where is Ken? Did Ken just walk out the door? All right, because I'm parroting what I heard him say. You know, the expression skin in the game. So I think at this point, and Bill, you'll probably agree, and you know this because this is what you do, but we need to get to the point where there's some real skin in the game, where we kind of put this in a coalesced form that we can move forward, and I think this board is certainly a place to start. Ken, I need you, for 10 seconds, you said something out in the hall. Skin in the game, a lot of different viewpoints. Is there a succinct way to relay that to the group so that we can use that kind of as our background conversation in this next segment? Just the fact that everybody's got their piece, but it's got to come together if this funding, if this is going to happen in the way that it needs to happen.
Okay, I've got a lot of ideas, but
it needs to be succinct.
yeah, I've been staying out of this because I'm a doctor type, you know, and I kind of defer to all you business visionary marketing types. But also being out of the box and watching, I have a different overview. You know, we're entering into a time of cooperation, not competition, and we have a lot of great ideas here, and everybody's looking for their little piece of where can I get funding for myself. You know, and what I don't see is that we're still at the visionary stage here of brainstorming. There's been a lot of brainstorming, but there isn't a core organization that just says, okay, we're going to decide. For instance, mentioning Wikipedia and Google. And okay, well, who's actually going to do that? That was a great idea, and I'm wondering who's going to do all of these ideas. Where are the implementers? Where are the operational people that are going to step up and say, oh, this is our idea? It's all David.
It's actually number 12 on my agenda, and it's implementation is the title. And we need a team that's either full or part-time, and it doesn't have to be very big. And we were just talking about some ideas on how to attract some of these people at the break. Okay, so Robert does
Wikipedia man.
Okay, now what we need is a CEO. We need somebody who's going to be working with social networking to implement Oliver Luckett's ideas. Marketing advisors, we have, you know, Joe Sugarman, Mark Victor Hansen. I have those, but we need to organize it, and we need to make it a little bit more formal. Public relations. We have, you know, Michael Turpin. Hopefully, he might, you know, volunteer for something like that. We have some other PR people, but investment banker. When we take these things public, when we do private offerings, at least for advice, we need somebody to give us to run these things through. And they're a very short list. A management expert, and I mentioned this a couple of times before, and it's crucial that wherever this money goes, it's got to be managed properly, and it's got to be doled out, like Bill said, you know, monthly or quarterly. So we need somebody who's very, very strong in management, a CFO, obviously. That's a part-time situation, but we need a CFO. We need to be accountable. A grant coordinator. I was just talking with Robert Bradbury about an idea that I just heard the other day from a very successful person in getting SBIR grants, and we're going to implement that idea, but we need a grant coordinator, 3 more, webmaster, we may have that, we probably already have it with life extension, and so I presume we can keep using you, Bill. I mean, the site's already built. Celebrity spokesperson, we talked a lot about that, we need to get one, and then personal assistants, that's it. Very short list to move mountains.
So,
okay, Dave, let me just ask, do we have the name and email address of everyone who's attended? Because we've had people in here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and now it's getting near the end of Sunday.
Yeah, we have, I have it for all the speakers, and then I assume that I think you do. You have it for your members, the Platinum members. And
yes, we do.
That were here.
And I have it for my people. So
yeah, your people. We don't have them in one database, but we'll get them. And now some people came in, not off the street, but some people came in unexpectedly. I don't know who they were, but we're keeping a list. And we know everybody that was here by name, most of them by email address, and a lot of them by telephone numbers and so forth.
And no one has asked to be excluded from that list. So if your email shows up, don't come to us after the fact. We told you today, let us know. In fact, Oliver Luckett said, please be sure to give everybody my contact info. And so I think if he doesn't have a problem with it, we probably won't have any issues with anybody else.
Well, what we do, I think we send a blanket news email. And if anybody, maybe we can, there's a way to do it on the internet. People can opt in to be on a list or have their email addresses given out. And we can probably do that with somebody like Marcello. I mean, I think he'd know how to do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's no problem. We can send out, someone should compose a summary of this meeting, and then if the objective is to raise money through some sort of a profit-making company, even though profit will not be the primary motivation for people to invest, that should be the focus of what we want to do, in addition to all these other great concepts that are brought up, because you never know which one's going to be the grand slam. You really don't know until it happens.
Don't. Yeah, exactly.
But I think certainly we're going to have this on a webinar, I realize, and so we do have everything recorded. But I think we need maybe a 2 or 3 page summary of what we've decided we're going to be doing next, what we need as far as a board of directors to oversee these investments. And we also, I guess, have to solicit some funding. Again, Life Extension will put money into this as seed money to start it, but we need to, I think, approach everyone here who's able to contribute to see if we can't put in at least the initial $5 million. The purpose of that initial $5 million, number one, is to impress other investors that we are serious. It's to help pay some of those legal expenses to get this up off the ground. I wouldn't imagine that $5 million would be going into any kind of research right now, but it would be to generate additional funding. So I think we have to see who is willing to put up something towards the $5 million seed money objective, and who's willing to put up their time and expertise.
Well, Woody was generous enough. Was Woody still here? He was generous enough to offer $500,000. He'd chip in his share.
Okay.
He said there are at least 2 or 3 people in this room that he knew that he talked to that would do the same. So let's just move that along and set up a mechanism, an organization, something to some company or entity that would hold the money, that would pay the bills, that would launch this thing forward. The Manhattan Beach Project is not a company; it's a project. So we need to find a management company for that project, and that's something that we could discuss. If we want to discuss it now, would this be something that would be relevant to our brainstorm session?
Identifying the right manager is critical. I don't know if that's possible to do now unless there's someone.
Well, not the manager, the entity that we would want to use. Do we use Maximum Life Foundation? Do we set up a public or a private company? Do we use Life Extension Foundation?
I think we should set up a separate corporation and toss around some names to see which one most people like.
I had a name. James Clement and I were, before he moved up north, we're talking about Max Life Capital, and it ties in with everything, and it tells exactly what we're doing. I'm not married to that name, but it's one that we came up with.
Right. I'm not married to that name either. There's great names out there. If you think long enough, sometimes you can come up with one. You certainly want a name that defines our objectives as clearly as possible. That's the best way to get media attention. I think the corporation should be established, and certainly, Life Extension will cover those initial costs. They're relatively minimal. A corporation that's capable of becoming an IPO. And then identifying the board of directors, hopefully, PhD, MD type individuals with strong track records. We should talk about a follow-up meeting and what we want to accomplish at a follow-up meeting from the standpoint of maybe finalizing this concept of having this company formed, money's in the bank already perhaps by then. I would like to propose that we have another meeting, a little bit different than this, by the way, in Florida. I don't know exactly when the best date for that is. I think we'd choose that date based on what progress we make over the next 2 to 3 months. But I would prefer a very succinct presentation of some of these technologies, and then more discussion about the actual business and financial structure that has to be put in place to make this happen. We already have been sold on the concept that technologies are there, existing companies are there doing research, some of them are further along than others. So now really the objective is we need to raise the money to make this happen.